Hey guys, welcome to the RAMZPAUL show. It is Tuesday, April 22nd. I hope you're having a good week. As a reminder, if you're not a Substack supporter, sign up. We have our roundtable tonight. We have that every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. I haven't figured out the topic yet. Sometimes we have specific topics. Sometimes we have open forum. I don't know. I'll think about that. But if you're a Substack supporter, look for that show to go out here after I do this show. I set up that one. So that's a lot of fun. And then tomorrow night, Wednesday night, I have the show with Z-Man. And that show's getting better every week. I really love it. This week, we're going to talk about the woman question, the WQ. It should be a lot of fun. And we'll dig into that. So, guys, thank you for being here. It's a beautiful day in the Ozarks. It's in the 70s this week, which at least in the 70s Fahrenheit is beautiful in the Ozarks. I love the 70s, but I don't know what's the problem with Brits. I really don't know the problem. Do you guys see this? I didn't really have this prep, but it was just hilarious. UK weather, heat wave horror as Britain forecasts mega 22 Celsius. It's going to be 22 Celsius in Britain. Horror. And, I live in America, so we don't use Celsius. So I don't know what the hell that means. It doesn't mean anything to me. So I had to put it in my handy calculation. I'm like, well, what is it? A 22, it must be like horrific. Maybe would be like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, right? That'd be horrific. I put it in and it's 71.6. 71.6. What's the problem with you Brits? 71 degrees Fahrenheit. That's like perfect. What's your problem? Heat wave horror. We're going to melt. It's 71 degrees Fahrenheit out here. Gosh, I don't know how do the Brits even travel if they wilt at 71 degrees. But anyway, they got a horror in Britain. Thoughts and prayer to the British people because it's going to be 71 degrees this week. I knew it. It's like global warming. They're all going to die. So anyway, it's a beautiful week here. So I guess it's a heat wave horror this week in Arkansas because it's actually going to be hotter than in Britain. But it's beautiful for us. It's beautiful weather. If you want to see heat wave horror, Brits, let me take you to Las Vegas in July. All right. Or let me take you to Arkansas here in August. I'll give you a heat wave horror. But yeah, so it's pretty. I like today. I got to work in the yard after I do the show here. That's the only bad thing. All the grass grows. But yeah, busy week. I'm looking forward to it. Hey, and if you want to interact with the show, it really does help. There's YouTube has super chats, Rumble has ranch. Link below's Powerchats. I like those. And then Stream Elements is just like Powerchats. It's just a different feature to send a tip. I do appreciate it. So thank you. And again, if you haven't signed up for my Substack, I do videos Monday through Friday, but Friday's just for my Substack supporters. So it's kind of a thank you for them. So it's another treat or another advantage of signing up for Substack. And it's not that much. It's like what you would pay for a tip if you go out to dinner. So you get the whole month. I do appreciate that. All right, we'll get into some of the news here, see what the heck is going on. And let's see here. This guy here. Let's listen to him. He's complaining about something.
Hey, it's Congressman Garcia. I am here in El Salvador with a group of House Democrats advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and
this guy's that Maryland guy that's illegal for Maryland that was in some MS-13 gang or something like that.
Of course, checking in on so many folks have been sent here without due process. The Supreme Court has ordered.
Well, he doesn't get due process. He's illegal. That's the point. He came in with no due process, right? We didn't vet him. There was no due process. He's not a citizen. He's an invader. When you have an invader, let's say like when the Nazis invaded Russia, They didn't say, "Uh-oh, before we repel all the Germans, we got to set up a series of courts, and we got to treat each soldier individually and look at their situation." No, they're invaders. That's the situation we're in now.
Unanimously that Kilmar Garcia should come back home to the United States.
I don't care. The Supreme Court also told Andrew Jackson he couldn't kick the Indians out of Georgia, the Cherokees. And he did. He's like, okay, John Holmes rules on that. Let's see him enforce it. And now, see, it worked out for the better. We got this beautiful country. The Cherokee Indians, they now have beautiful casinos in Oklahoma. So, hey, a win-win scenario. This is it. I mean, what the Supreme Court ruled is we can kick out these illegals. You got to go through this whole complex process that would take hundreds of years. So when they came in illegally, by the way, the Supreme Court didn't say a word about Joe Biden doing that, even though he broke the law of the Constitution. But now to get him out, oh no, it's going to take this long process. And this is the whole goal, is they don't want him out because they want to destroy our country. Groups like the SPLC ADL, they don't want a white country anymore. And these other groups, they just want to get the goodies that they can't create. So this is the situation. So I don't give a shit what the Supreme Court says, and that should be Donald Trump's position.
We also know that he was sent here wrongfully. The Trump administration admitted that. We have met now with the U.S. Embassy here, the ambassador. We're meeting with advocates.
He looks like he's nice there. He looks like he should have a good time there. Where's he, in El Salvador? That looks like a nice place. It's a place where people speak his language. He's free. He's away from white supremacy. He should be happy there. Let him make El Salvador great again.
On the ground, who are organizing here in El Salvador. We've talked to Abrego Garcia's family, which is heartbreaking. And more importantly,
why is that heartbreaking? They should be in El Salvador too. Then they could all have a happy reunion there.
We're here to raise awareness that Kilmar needs to come home.
He is home. He's from El Salvador. He came into America illegally. He's home. We sent him home. We gave him a free plane ticket home. That's more than most countries would do. He should be happy he's home. He's around his homeboys. And he can speak Spanish, and he can do the El Salvador MS-13 gang things they like to do down there. Whatever. Hey, have fun with it. His family should be down there with him. So, and he's away from the evil bite man. I think this is a great solution here.
We need to build support here in El Salvador, but also in the United States. He must come home.
But he is home. El Salvador's his home.
And I'll say this lastly. The president defying a Supreme Court order is a fire alarm moment in this country.
No, a fire alarm moment in this country is millions of people coming into my homeland illegally. My homeland that my ancestors built, that your people can't do. I'm sorry you created shitholes, but this guy shouldn't be in the country either. He needs to go back to his country. And that's the fire alarm moment. And I don't care really anymore about the system of government or the Constitution or anything else. I want these people out. They have their homelands. They can live in their homelands. It's just that simple, because this is what's best for me, my family, my community. I don't give a shit about anything else. You guys got your home. Enjoy it. Why is it like this emergency that he has to live in his homeland? He's not a United States citizen. This guy's illegal. He broke the laws to come in this country. He's involved with gang activities. And we somehow have to bring this idiot in? No.
We cannot stand for it, and we must ensure that he's held accountable.
So no, I don't have a problem with him being in El Salvador. He's back home. That's where he should be. And I don't really care. I do care. He needs to be in El Salvador, and he's not coming back. He needs to stay there. And it's pretty simple. That's my position. These people, they do not elevate our standard of living. They're a drain on our resources. And this is our home. We're English speaking. This is our community. We built it. It's not perfect. I know they can't build a similar thing, so they want to suck off our wealth that they can't do. Tough shit. Maybe they can evolve and figure out how to do it on their own. But we don't have some obligation to bring them in here. And we're tired of it. It's just that simple. And I don't care about anything else. I don't give a shit what the Supreme Court says. I don't care what anyone else says. I want my homeland. That's how it is. So I think we got some more on this. Let me see here. No, we got something else about the Tucker Carlson was talking about this whole how the Trump administration, they still got some snakes in there. So let's take a look at this. Let's just take a look at this real quick here. I thank you guys for being here. We do the show every Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday. It's at this time, 11 a.m.
But let's be honest. Everyone knows where that's coming from. It's from the career staff who don't look like what the president and the secretary and vice president want to do. There's people on the joint staff that I come to respect, but a lot of them are incredibly hostile to the secretary, to the president.
Well, they need to be removed then.
The vice president's worldview. It's pretty obvious that that's where most of the leaks are coming from. There's a less obvious place. I just want to point something out. As we sit here today, Tucker, and this could change by the time this is aired, but as we sit here today, Susan Rice, Michelle Flournoy, Eric Edelman are still in good standing with the Department of Defense.
What?
That is correct. They are still...
Susan Rice? Like
Susan
the Obama
Rice,
Susan Rice?
Yes. Susan Rice is still on the Defense Policy Board.
Right now?
As we sit here today, by the time this is released, that might change. But as we sit here today, she is still on the Defense Policy Board. Now, that doesn't mean she can go in the building and get access to whatever she wants. But it means that she works with DoD employees. She can interact with them and has the credential and the affiliation with the Department of Defense.
But so Susan Rice has no relevant experience for a job like that at all. She's a political hack.
Correct. Yet, as we sit here in April of 2025, about 100 days into the president's first term, she and a bunch of other people who are incredibly hostile to the president and his worldview remain on the Defense Policy Board.
You're sure?
You can go on the website and check it right now. And I checked with Colin and Darren, and they confirm that as well too.
Well, Trump needs to remove him. It's just that simple. And I assume he can remove him. But if you're going to have your team together, you got to have your direction, and you have to have everyone on the same page together. What's your vision? You need to make sure that the people that report to you have that vision. If they don't, they need to go elsewhere. And that's up to President Trump. And that's something I've always a little bit been frustrated with Trump. And I don't give Trump a pass on this. The first administration, he would put in idiots like John Bolton, even when people said, what are you doing? This guy's a neocon. He wants to have wars with the entire world. And then Trump hires him. Ooh, I guess I had to fire him. This guy's crazy. Well, you should have known. And as a manager or a leader, you're responsible for the people under you, right? Like, I was in business. If you're a manager of, let's say, a division, and you have other managers underneath you, and you have managers underneath you that are opposing your direction and doing a horrible job, and then your whole division starts to fail, you can't then say to your boss, well, it's not my fault. It's one of my managers. You know, he's just not doing his job. He's not on board. Especially if you have power to hire and fire, then it's like, well, that's on you. You're allowing this to happen. And at some point, Trump's got to take accountability, not sit around and cry like a bitch. He's got to get rid of people that aren't on board. It's just that simple. No more John Boltons, no more Kushners, no more Rice, Susan Rice. These people need to be purged. And he has to understand what he wants his administration to be. And we're running into this with, and we'll get into this with Iran. There's really two different elements. There's an element, the Zionist element, that backed Trump because they thought he would wage a war for them on the behalf of them against Iran. That is just simple as can be. Netanyahu was pushing that. The politicians that are controlled by the Israeli lobby, like Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, Nikki Haley, they're totally controlled. They're bought by Israel. And so now they're having a fit that it looks like Trump and people in his administration, including Pete Hegseth, they don't want to do a war with Iran because they want to get a deal with Iran. And so they're trying to sabotage Trump's administration now because the only reason they supported him, they don't give a shit about America, make America great again. They see the United States as just a tool to help Israel. I would say Ben Shapiro's in that country. He cares about the United States just he wants the United States to be healthy and powerful, but not because it's good for our people. He doesn't give a shit about that. It's because it's good for his people, his ethnic homeland. So it's in his interest. Well, I want America to be, still strong because it needs to defend my homeland. And so Trump needs to decide really which way he wants to go. Does he want to be with a faction like J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth, others that want to put America first? Or does he want to be with the faction that, no, we got to put Israel first because they're God's chosen people or whatever? He's got to make that determination. You really can't do both. And I know he tries to play both, and I know he needs to play, at least he had to play with that Zionist element because they got a lot of power and money. I get it. But now he doesn't have to do that. And so now they're all mad and they're trying to sabotage his administration, and he needs to get away from that sort of thing. All right, let's see here. Let's see what they're doing here. I'll turn the music off on this because this is on YouTube, but I don't know about copyright stuff. But this is in let's see, Kiev. They were mocking Easter, and these are, my understanding, these are homosexuals in Kiev, mocking Christians and Christ, the usual what we expect from that. And I presume all these are men dressed up as women. So, and having seen that, I really do. That's drag queens. Those are drag queens. They're doing a mock Easter as they were celebrating the Pope passing away. So, I've had enough of these people. This really exemplifies really what the whole war in Ukraine's about. It's about having drag queens eventually one day in Moscow. And I'm not joking. That's really what it comes down to. So whatever eliminates this perversion, I am for. Just like whatever gets these people out of our country, I don't care. I want them out. And I don't want to support any country that is pushing drag queens everywhere, and that's Ukraine. Russia, this is not allowed in Russia. Say what you want about Russia, they do not allow this sort of thing to go on. And I am for that. And I know some people are for this. They want this perversion. I don't. I think this is bad for society. So there we are on that. All right. Let's take a look at something else we have here. All right. So what's happened here is a Minnesota man, Dylan Adams, he's an employee of Governor Tim Walz's administration, will face 0 criminal consequences or even charges for vandalizing 6 Teslas and causing $20,000 in damage. If you do that much damage, that's a pretty serious crime, typically. But what they're doing here in Minnesota, this is what we've seen a lot, is if you do politically correct crimes like terrorism or vandalism against targets that are okay with them. Soros, they had this funded attorney, Mary, we shouldn't have a woman in this position anyway, but Mary Moriarty. So they funded her, and they decided they're not going to charge. They're going to refuse to charge these people for doing illegal activities. And this is her, and she got over $500,000 in Soros donations. And again, if I was Donald Trump, I'd just declare Soros a terrorist and his organization, including his son, and arrest him and set him in Gitmo. That's where he needs to go. He's doing warfare against our country. He's getting these treasonous people in. And we saw this during the whole Black Lives Matter thing, where cities said, we're going to allow blacks to loot stores and we're not going to charge them. They can shoplift. I don't think they would tolerate it from white people. And you see what's happened to those cities. Now in Minnesota, they're like, well, you can do acts of vandalism if it's a politically approved target. Now, I always do this, let's just imagine thing, but just imagine some people were vandalizing a George Floyd mural or some homosexual exhibit they had set up Well, we don't have to imagine. Remember, they painted some street, some homosexual colors, the homosexual flag, and some car left some tire marks on it, and they were trying to consider that to be a hate crime. So if this was reversed, they would arrest a person and charge them with a hate crime, facing 20 years in prison. But because they support attacks on Tesla because Elon Musk owns it, and they don't like Elon Musk because he works with Trump, they let these criminals go free. So basically in Minnesota, this bitch is saying you're allowed to vandalize Tesla property, and I will not charge you. I'll let you go. This is where you see society breaking down. She should not be in our country. She shouldn't be in office. And this is what happens when things start to break down. So pretty bad situation. I would get the federal government involved and kick her out of office. We can't have a lawless society. And this is what the left tries to do. They have two systems of justice. And now in Britain, it's in law. So if you're in Britain and if you're a white man, you get a more, it's written law, you get a higher penalty than, say, a black guy that's come over and did a crime. And that's what they're doing here in the United States. It's just it's not official, but if you do an act of terrorism against, let's say, a Republican or a white, they're not going to prosecute. But don't you dare get tire marks on their homosexual flag that they have on the crosswalk. They're not going to tolerate that. So this is where we are right now, two systems of justice. This is why we can't live with these people. Either they need to go, we need to go, need a separate homeland, but we can't coexist with these people anymore. All right, let's see here. I was talking a little bit about Iran, and let's take a look at this. This is what I was talking about. And this is Nikki Haley. I raised alarm bells about this when she was nominated. So she's talking about now Tulsi Gabbard. She used to be a Democrat. She's from Hawaii. You guys, I'm sure, know her. She's now, I guess, a Republican, but she's not really that radical. But she served in the armed forces. She just doesn't believe in these endless wars, which you shouldn't, right? But now Nikki Haley, this crazy woman, she probably shouldn't be in the country either, is saying that Tulsi Gabbard is an Iranian sympathizer in the national security. So this is the crazy. Just because we don't want war with Iran, people that are on the Israeli payroll, like Nikki Haley, in a roundabout way she is demanding that we get war. Otherwise, she's a sympathizer for Iran, because this is all these people care about. Nikki Haley doesn't give a shit about America. Neither does Tom Cotton. Neither does Lindsey Graham. They are bought and paid. They're under foreign influence. And until we eliminate this foreign influence in our country, we're never going to be free. We're like a controlled country at this point. At least these politicians are controlled. It's really pathetic and disgusting. But this is where we are right now. Thank God, Nikki Haley. Remember, she was running for president. We'd be in some huge war. These people are crazed, and they're willing to bring it all down for Israel, even if it destroys. I often speculated, and I really do believe it. If Tom Cotton, you had to tell him this hypothetical scenario, thought experiment. Okay, Tom, here's the situation. You either have to agree, you have a nuclear bomb's either going to go off in Little Rock, Arkansas, or Tel Aviv. Which would you do? And he would say, I don't want to do either. That's not fair. And I'm saying, well, if you don't say either, they're going to go off in both places. And so it's a tough decision, but how are you going to decide? He goes, oh, okay, well, based on that, I'll have to nuke Little Rock, which in some ways wouldn't be that bad, but he would choose that. He would choose that. His loyalties are to another state. I have no doubt, by the way, about that. No doubt. Zero doubt. That's what he would choose. So this is where we are with our politicians. It's pretty disgusting. And that's it. So now they're really upset again because the neocons that Trump may not, they feel betrayed because a lot of the Israeli lobby, they supported Trump and they thought he would, do what they wanted. In some ways he is, one of the things they want to make it illegal to criticize Israel in the United States. And so far we have a First Amendment, so they haven't been able to do that to United States citizens. But if you're a foreigner, you better not criticize Israel. We're not going to tolerate that, and especially in our campuses. No, you're free to criticize the United States, though. That's fine. You can criticize Ireland. You can criticize Hungary, but you better not criticize Israel. Okay, there you go. And a lot of these states, they have loyalty pledges. If you're going to work like for the state or Texas or Florida, you have to give a loyalty pledge to Israel. Otherwise, they're not going to hire you. It's true. It's just really crazy. That's where we are. So Trump's on board with that. So he's on board with that. He's on board giving Israel unlimited money as usual. But when he doesn't want to have a war with Iran, because it's Pete Hegseth, our defense secretary. I think part of it is just we can't win that war easily. I mean, we can't win it by just sending Tomahawk missiles. It would require a huge army. We're not in a position to do that. Trump doesn't want to do that. We have other issues. But, the Israeli lobby, they don't give a shit about our other issues. They just focus on what's good for Israel. And they see Iran as a threat to Israel, even though Iran's not really a threat to us, but that doesn't matter to them. They, without Israel, our country doesn't stand in their view. So this is where we are in that. So they feel betrayed with the Trump administration. And let me see if I can share this. This is, I think, came from Ron Paul. Some good commentary here on this. Let's see if it could play here. Is this not working? Hang on here. Oh, here we go. Let me share this again. It wasn't going at first, so let's take a look at this here. Here we go. I don't want to see this whole. I'm sorry, it's 31 minutes. I thought it was just a clip. But Ron Paul was saying, just days after the media reported that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth discouraged President Trump from attacking Iran, and Pete. He made that determination, not because he doesn't love Israel more than life itself. I'm sure Pete does. I'm sure he's a Christian Zionist. And it's not because he has a love for Iran. There's just some political realities, not just political realities, but defense realities with the military. We can't really defeat Iran with just missiles. And the Iranians, they have a very sophisticated air defense system. They are tied closely to Russia. They have a lot of drones. So it wouldn't be an easy affair and it wouldn't accomplish anything. It would be expensive and maybe we'd get some cool photos that the neocons could jerk off to, but it wouldn't do anything else. And since he discouraged President Trump from attacking Iran, multiple media stories have dropped claiming incompetence and worse on his part. This is orchestrated. They share information. They're targeting Pete Hegseth because they're trying to regain control of the Trump administration, the neocons, and they feel that Pete's not on board. And again, it's not like Pete is anti-Israel or pro-Iran. He just realizes the reality of the situation. Meanwhile, the three top aides known for a more realistic approach to foreign policy have been sacked on dubious grounds. Is Hegseth about to learn what happens when you cross the neocons? Well, bottom line, I wouldn't blame the neocons. They're going to do what they're going to do, right? So in like Ben Shapiro's case, I don't really blame him. His loyalty is to his people, his homeland, his number one loyalty. Makes sense. That'd be my loyalty too. I don't have such a homeland. America's my homeland. And the other ones, I guess I understand their point of view. They get funded by them and they get their positions of power. So I understand why they're doing it. But eventually this comes down to Donald Trump. He needs to stand up against this sort of thing and figure out really what you want to do. Does he want to be a neocon that gets in all these wars for Israel? Or does he want to try to normalize relations with other countries like Iran. And again, I'm not asking them to be hostile to Israel. This is how they always frame it, that either you give Israel whatever they want and fight all the wars they want, or you're a vicious anti-Semite. This is how they always phrase it. But if you say, no, there's another thing, I'm not against Israel, God bless you, do what you want to do, but we shouldn't fund you, just like we really shouldn't fund any nation. And no, we're not going to fight your wars, just like we shouldn't fight wars for Iceland or Hungary or Ukraine. We shouldn't be in the business of fighting wars for other nations. We got to look at what's in the interest of the United States. And there's no interest in the United States to be having a conflict with Russia, China, or Iran. There really isn't. We can work these things out. And the only reason we have an issue with Iran has to do with Israel, because Israel's doing their little genocide in Gaza, and the Houthis, who are supported by the Iranians, have shut down the Red Sea to people that are supporting Israel because of the genocide going on. But if we weren't in the mess in the first place, right, if we weren't funding Israel, this wouldn't impact us whatsoever. And so this is a matter between Israel and the Houthis, right? So Israel needs to figure that out. But it shouldn't be our business. But this is where we are now. And Trump needs to get on top of this and I think do what's the right thing. Yeah, that's the situation there. We will see if he does. I'm a little skeptical, but who knows? Maybe he will. Maybe he will. All right, let's take a look here. Donald Trump spoke about this immigration issue. Let's take this here. Trump says some illegals will be deported without trials. Well, they don't have a right to trial. They're illegals. We cannot give everyone a trial because doing so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. Yeah, again, this is the game plan that the left has used to destroy our country. Let's flood them all in, and they don't ask the Supreme Court's permission to have them all flood in, right? No, not at all. But to get them out, we got to have this long, lengthy process, as basically means we'll never get them out. Donald Trump, I'm doing what I was elected to do. That's true. He's got the will of the people. Remove criminals from our country. And remember, every illegal is a criminal. But the courts don't seem to want me to do that. My team is fantastic, doing an incredible job. However, they've been stymied at every turn, even by the U.S. Supreme Court, which I have such great respect for, but which seemingly doesn't want me to send violent criminals and terrorists back to Venezuela or for any other country for that matter, people that came here illegally. The courts are intimidated by the radical left who are playing the ref. Great Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito correctly wants to dissolve the pause on deportations. He is right on this. If we don't get these criminals out of our country, we're not going to have a country any longer. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So by obviously, if we're going to play the game that now the border's secure, so we don't have the issue now with illegals. But if we get another Democrat president, they'll open the border and pour millions more in. And then eventually this is no longer our homeland. And again, by groups like the ACLs, SPLC, Soros, they want this. They want to destroy it. They don't want any white homelands. They're not just targeting the United States. They target Ireland, Britain, Australia, Germany, you name it, France, Italy. They don't want any homelands to be majority white. They consider white people to be evil and they need to be managed out of existence. This is part of the reason they have such hatred towards Russia, because Russia doesn't have a policy of eliminating their people. And so that they won't tolerate that. So this is where we are. So their plan, I'm telling you the plan right now, it's not that complicated. They, through Soros and other groups, they pay and organize these people to come here illegally. In Joe Biden's case, they were actually flying them in your community. So they'll drop down a bunch of Somalis in Minnesota or a bunch of Haitians in a small town in Ohio. They don't care if it really disrupts your way of life and makes things dangerous. They think that's funny. They think you deserve that because you're white. That's their philosophy. And they think, oh, well, if we get Trump in, okay, it's a little speed bump because he's going to stop that. But they can't get these people out now. Haha, we've won because we got these people in. There's no way we can get them out. And Trump is, part of the reason people voted for Trump is get these people out. And so now they're trying to put roadblocks in. You can't. You got to do a separate hearing for each person. And that, it'd be impossible to get through it all. And that's what Trump is saying. So if we don't get him out, then eventually they'll vote and we will look like El Salvador or some shithole. That's their goal. And they're okay with that. That's kind of their goal. So this is, we're at the fight for our country right here. We would need hundreds of thousands of trials for hundreds of thousands of illegals we're seeing out of the country. Such a thing is not possible. What a ridiculous situation we are in. Make America great again. Yeah, I would just send them out, whatever, right? Because again, the Supreme Court, they didn't care when these people came flooding in. We shouldn't care, and we just send them out. So if I was Trump, I did my video about this. I think Trump needs to defy the Supreme Court and ship them out. That's what happens here. All right. And then we have these. The left is getting more and more unhinged. We'll take a look at something. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this was at a elderly couple was attacked by this woman. And these women, they were always the worst because they followed whatever, you saw it with COVID. They were the Karens. They try to enforce whatever they think the norm is. And this elderly couple, they had the guy had a Trump hat on, and it triggered this middle-aged frumpy woman.
I have a baby here with you. You're a disgusting, sick, vile, fucking weirdo.
So this fat bitch, I went over there and yelling at him, saying he was a disgusting weirdo because he had a Trump hat on. She thought this was appropriate behavior.
Oh my God, it's fucking right. You dumb bitch, you're with this shit. He doesn't want me or you to have equality. Oh my God, go pray for me. Touch me and watch me touch the fucking hands. I want it and hold your leg.
I would just love to see this bitch slap, man. This bitch needs to go down.
Get out. You're not welcome here. You don't want
during COVID, she was the one running around telling everyone to get their mask up.
people here. You're not welcome.
And she's the one that says that Republicans aren't tolerant. They're not open-minded like she is. They're not loving like she is. Republicans, the people on the right, are motivated by hate. And look at her here.
You want me to make you be okay? Comfortable in this one? Look at you.
I'm proud of this man. This man here's some people.
You guys call the cops. Thank you, sir. You don't like the fire service? You don't like veterans? Why are you disrespecting the restaurant wearing my hat? That doesn't make any damn sense. Y'all right now, this is crazy shit right here. This is some fucked up shit.
Well, yeah, it is crazy, fucked up shit that you would hassle people minding their own business just because you don't like their hat. So if she's upset about the Trump hat, I wonder what she would think about my Confederate battle flag hat. She would really be triggered down here in the South. Yeah, that's just crazy. These women, some of them are just, and Z-Man and I will talk about this a little bit. And again, because she's probably obviously not married, and her husband is the state, which is the institutions. So she thinks she's doing God's work on attacking someone because the hat that they're wearing. It's just really crazy. And the propaganda is very strong. Let me just show you this here. This has to do with 1 out of every 27 Americans who are now 20 years old identify as trans. And here's the data behind it. All of a sudden, whoop! Yeah, this isn't natural. This isn't genetic. This is a perversion that's being pushed on children in the schools and in the media. No one's trans. There's no such thing. There's men that dress up as women and women as boys. but it's been pushed in the school, especially to vulnerable kids. And again, the people that push this, they need to be arrested. We can't tolerate this type of thing. It's just even the whole homosexuality thing is not genetic, obviously, because it's increased, is something it's a behavior that we put a word to. So this whole thing is just ridiculous. And we got to put a stop to this nonsense, especially teachers that are pushing this type of stuff on everything. All right. Yeah, we'll take a look here what's happening in how we deal with these illegals. This is yesterday night at the same CVS location in Midtown Manhattan. A migrant shoplifter, meaning an illegal alien, take whatever they want and just walk out of the store with immunity. This location has been getting pounded by shoplifters. Because of shoplifters, most of the items are under lock and key, just like most businesses here in New York City. Where I go shopping, there's none of this. Nothing's under lock and key, but because we don't have illegal aliens coming in stealing. They don't care because they know nothing will happen. So in New York City, these illegals, they shouldn't be in the country anyway. They should be deported. But they're so brazen, they just go into the store and steal everything, and they know that the woke people won't arrest them. They'll let them go. And in such an environment, obviously, you can't have businesses that's going on. And Jesse Waters from Fox News, he had a good exchange about the so-called Maryland man. That's that guy from El Salvador that was here illegally, the gang member that Trump deported. They're, oh, boo-hoo. Let's take a look at this here.
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat. And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism, Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out. And then he's wearing paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. Then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's Due Process. Mm-hmm. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. And to say this administration...
Yeah, see, this guy... Basically, I support what Jesse's saying here. This guy's a piece of shit. He's a gang member. And it is interesting how the Democrats are saying, no. The Constitution, Thomas Jefferson would have wanted illegal gang members in this country. That's just part of who we are. That it's not a really good look because most Americans are happy to get someone like this out of the country. But the fact he's in the gang or not is not really relevant. He doesn't belong in this country anyway. His homeland is El Salvador. He needs to go back to El Salvador.
Administration never admits a mistake. You guys never admitted you opened the border for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
Come on. You're saying this guy
the border was
you're saying this guy's afraid to go home? Because that's funny. In 2019, when he was popped, he said he wasn't afraid to go home, Jessica. Yeah. Funny that you're into due.
Well, I don't care if he is afraid to go home or not. And he isn't, but I don't give a shit. Who cares? That's not our problem. It's like, well, I guess you got to make better friends at home then. I don't know what to say, but you don't have a right to be here.
Process now, after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture.
Yeah, there was no due process in these people coming in. They came in illegally. They're not United States citizens. They're not covered by the Constitution. They are technically invaders. No less an invader than if the Chinese should like invade our shores. Right. So if we have 1 million Chinese invading our shores, oh no, the army can't shoot and get them out. We got to put each one on a trial, schedule the trial. And the thing is, this guy, he won't show up for the trial. He'll just disappear. He needs to get the hell out. But the Democrats, they just think this guy's a wonderful guy. This is what they want. It's just a tragedy that we don't have more gang members from El Salvador in your neighborhood shaking you down. No, the Constitution demands we keep this guy in.
And the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here, and then ask to be put in the line to go home.
Yeah, that's a good, the way he expressed it as well. It's not like they didn't come in right. So, I mean, he needs to go through the proper process.
If you guys are going to be the defense attorneys for every criminal gangbanger in America, after you've allowed the gangs to invade and now say all of them need lawyers, it's going to be an eternity, Jessica, to get these people out of here.
Well, that's the point. They don't want them out. They don't want them out. They see this as a feature. They think it's funny when these people are in our country and robbing our stores. And what does it do? It lowers our standard of living because now things are more expensive in stores. Now, instead of you want to buy some razors, I'll pick up some razors. That's what I do where I live. Oh, no, you can't do it there. They got to put them under lock and key. So now you have to go find a clerk to unlock the razors. See, that's diminished your life. These people are not enriching my life. And I don't care what system of government it is or what theory or what principle. I just want them out. And that's the way the Americans think right now.
Johnny went to Baltimore, and the people of Maryland are laughing at you. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, they think it's ridiculous what Van Hollen has done to be able to defend foreign rights instead of the rights of the American people. And the slippery slope argument. Is this the slipperiest slope you've ever seen? If they deport an MS-13 terrorist, you're next. Who? The Puerto Ricans? Anybody with a tan, Jessica? Are you next? No one believes that. This is the dictator hoax all over again. And you lost on that the last time.
Yeah, he got good points on Jesse on that. It is ridiculous. And so I think Trump is in a sense very much, he's insistent that this guy's not going to come back. And we need to get these people out of here. And I would Trump, I'd just send him out. And the Supreme Court, oh, we ruled you can't do that. And I'd be like, yeah, I know. Oh, well. If you don't like it, you could try to get Congress to impeach me and then the Senate to remove me. That's the only remedy. So go ahead, do that. All right, let's listen to Pete Hegseth here just a second. Here we go. Let's watch this guy here.
They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump. I mean, I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here. To bring warfighting and the warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down, to bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done, to reestablish standards and accountability, to not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy in the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along and, start doing meet the press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the new cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because President Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day. Right. That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me. No worries. I'm standing right here. The warfighters are behind us. Our enemies know they're on notice. Our allies know we're behind them. And that, in this dangerous world for the American people, is what it's all about.
Yeah, but they're not really after him because of that so much. It's more of because I guess he wasn't on board with attacking Iran, and that upset a lot of people. So, yeah, there we are. Get off my lawn, $2 rant. Thank you. That woman who was yelling at the man wearing a MAGA hat, she was wearing a Luigi Maggioni t-shirt. Oh yeah, she was a fan of that guy that murdered this CEO. Yeah, these people are insane. These liberals are just woke people. They're part of a cult. They really aren't. I'm not saying that. They're part of a death cult. And they're not right in the head. It's best to stay away from these people. I saw it during COVID, how these people just get there's something broke in their minds. And I think Z-Man and I are going to talk about that. So we'll talk about that on Wednesday some more. This is here's Starmer, I guess, is having troubles in Britain. He's a prime minister of Britain. He's not very popular. He's Labour Party. I don't know if there's much difference between Labour and what's the other party, the Tories, or I don't know, but they all hate white people. So he hates English people, right? So, but he was all for the homosexual. The rumor is he himself is a homosexual. And let me just share this here. He's talking about this whole trans silliness.
We saw protests this weekend in Bristol, as Paul mentioned, about the Supreme Court ruling. Do you believe
this is the Supreme Court in Britain ruled that if you're a man and you put on a dress, you're not really a woman? Duh. But so they're asking him about that.
A trans woman is a woman?
No. Putting a dress on you could call it a trans woman, but that would be like me putting on a pretend tail and saying I'm a trans dog. Does that make me a real dog? No, it makes me a man dressing up like a dog. It's the same thing. It's not even complicated.
Look, I think the Supreme Court has answered that question.
So you
and
don't
I
believe
think,
a trans woman is a woman?
look, a woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. So I think it's important that we see the judgment for what it is. It's a welcome step forward. It's real clarity in an area where we did need clarity. I'm pleased it's come about. We need to move and make sure that we now ensure that all guidance is in the right place according to that judgment.
What are your words for the trans community who are worried about what this could mean for them?
Well, look, I think it is important that we have clarity about
this whole idea of community. I don't really get that. That'd be like, what do you think about the thief community? You think they're going to be upset about this? Or what about the child molester community? How are they going to be impacted by this ruling? Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Out the law.
Everything, every deviation, every degeneracy is now a community. How about the community of men that like to have sex with dead people, dig up graves? How about that community? It's ridiculous.
Well, that's what the Supreme Court is there for. So obviously that's an important and welcome step, and we go forward from there.
So as this guy was saying, he used to think that a woman could have a penis, but when a judge said women can't have a penis, now I don't think a woman can have a penis. This is just how craven these politicians are in Britain and elsewhere. So, yeah, that is pretty crazy. Boy, it's even that we have to deal with this is pretty nuts, but that's where we are. All right, let's see here. This is one final. I'll just wrap up here with this here. This was pretty funny. The Institute of Canadian Citizen is putting up these posters around Toronto advocating mass immigration. I mean, they really hate you. These people hate white people. So they show like two dumb white guys, right? Because white guys. Immigrants are clogging up the ER because I guess they do here in the United States. Illegals, they just swarm the emergency rooms. And this guy is like, oh, I'm dumb. I'm saying especially the nurses. And immigrants are our history and our future. So that they want to have endless Indians and replace the Canadian people. And if you oppose it, you're dumb, right? Because without immigrants, Native Canadians, they wouldn't have, I guess, enough nurses is like their logic here. It is just so pathetic. We can't live with these people anymore. We just can't live with these people. They need to go elsewhere. And I think everyone's starting to see that. We need a peaceful divorce from a lot of these people. It is pretty pathetic. All right. It's been a fun hour. It's good to be here with you guys. And as a reminder, tonight we have the roundtable. So be sure to sign up for the Substack if you haven't. I'm looking forward to that. And then tomorrow we have the show again at 11 a.m. Be sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends. And then Wednesday night we have the show with Z-Man. That's always a lot of fun. So guys, thank you so much for being here. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.